They say the world is full of wonders, and that's true. But some wonders are best admired from a very, very safe distance. Because while postcards show us turquoise waters and glowing sunsets, there are places on this planet where nature doesn't just impress, it hunts. Places so hostile, so extreme, that setting foot there might be the last thing you ever do. Let me take you on a journey, not to paradise, but into Earth's hidden nightmares. First stop, a road in the clouds, carved into the mountains of Bolivia. It winds along cliffs so high your ears pop, with no rails to catch you if you misjudge a turn. This path, known as Yungas Road, once claimed hundreds of lives every year. Imagine driving a heavy truck inches from a 600-meter drop, while dense fog blinds you and sudden rains turn the dirt beneath you to slippery death. In the 90s, it was routine. Drivers would vanish into the abyss, their vehicles swallowed by jungle. A safer highway was eventually built, but some thrill seekers still test their fate here. Just remember, once you start down Yungas, there's nowhere to turn around. Now picture this, a chamber deep beneath Mexico, where colossal crystals stretch across a glowing cavern. It looks like the inside of an alien spaceship, but it's real. The Crystal Cave of Naka hides 300 meters below the Earth, filled with selenite formations longer than buses and heavier than tanks. But here's the price of beauty. The cave rests just above a magma pocket. The heat inside reaches 45 degrees Celsius, 113 degrees Fahrenheit, with humidity so thick your body can't cool itself. 10 minutes in this environment without special gear, and you're facing heat stroke, system failure, and death. Even scientists in cooling suits can barely last an hour. It's a place where time melts, and so might you. We leave the heat behind, only to meet something even deadlier. Off Brazil's coast lies an island the locals avoid like a curse, Ilha da Queimada Grande, or more infamously, Snake Island. Here, in the thick foliage, live thousands of serpents, some slithering just meters from one another. Among them, the golden lancehead viper, one of the most venomous snakes on the planet. Its bite causes flesh to rot and blood to break down. With no predators and an endless buffet of birds, the snakes multiplied until this island became their empire. It's so dangerous that even the military forbids civilians from setting foot there. And then there's a place where the sun doesn't just shine, it burns. Death Valley, California, is a desert furnace where the ground itself can cook your skin. The heat here once reached 56.7 degrees Celsius, 134 degrees Fahrenheit. Hotter than your oven. The landscape traps heat like a sealed pot, and rain is almost a myth. Rattlesnakes, scorpions, black widows, and mountain lions call it home. Some tourists think it's funny to try and fry eggs on the pavement. Park rangers, less amused, spend their days cleaning up shells and reminding visitors not to be the next cautionary tale. One man walked barefoot here. He ended up in the hospital with third-degree burns. But if you think heat is the worst the Earth can offer, think again. Far across the globe, in the frozen heart of Siberia, lies the village of Oymyakon. With just a few hundred residents, it holds a brutal record, the coldest inhabited place on Earth. Winter temperatures dip below minus 50 degrees Celsius, sometimes reaching minus 68 degrees Celsius. Mars, by comparison, is only slightly colder. Pipes freeze, crops won't grow, and even cars refuse to start without fires being lit beneath their engines. Here, death doesn't come suddenly, but slowly, creeping in through your gloves, numbing your fingers, your thoughts. Drop your keys in the snow, and you might not live long enough to find them. If you ever find yourself in Oymyakon, don't just bring a coat, bring a wallet. Staying warm in the coldest inhabited place on Earth is a luxury most can't afford. Locals bundle up in thick fur coats that often cost more than $1,500. That's over twice the average monthly salary, which sits around $600. Many people go into debt just to own the fur they need to survive. Even with layers of animal hide wrapped around them, the air outside is so frigid that within minutes, your breath, your eyelashes, and even your saliva turn into stabbing needles of ice. After that, your freezer back home might feel like a tropical spa. And just when you think you're ready for anything the earth throws at you, we take a dive into the unknown. Imagine a scar on the seafloor, so deep and vast it swallows mountains. The Mariana Trench, located between Hawaii and the Philippines, drops over 11 kilometers into the planet's crust. If you dropped Mount Everest into it, the peak would still be buried under 2 kilometers of ocean. Needless to say, this isn't your next beach getaway. Light doesn't reach those depths, making the water pitch black and near freezing. At the very bottom, the pressure is so immense, over 8 tons per square inch, that it would crush your body instantly. Your lungs, obliterated. Your bones, pulverized. Thousands have conquered Everest. Fewer than 20 have ever made it to the bottom of the trench. We know more about the surface of Mars than what waits in that eternal darkness. But there's another kind of abyss, one you can actually see from space. Off the coast of Belize lies a gaping, perfect circle in the sea, the Great Blue Hole. Formed 14,000 years ago when a limestone cave system collapsed and flooded, it's become a magnet for divers from around the world. But beware, powerful underwater currents sweep around its edges, capable of pulling even experienced swimmers into the void. And if that doesn't make you hesitate, consider the company. Reef sharks, nurse sharks, hammerheads, bull sharks, and black-tip sharks all roam these depths. They rarely attack humans. But let's just say you won't be diving alone. You think you're safer on solid ground? Think again. Deep in Russia lies an artificial wound in the earth, the Mir Mine. 1/2 kilometer deep and once the heart of the Soviet diamond industry, this monstrous crater swallowed over 10 million cubic feet of water during a leak in 2017. That's more than 100 Olympic-sized pools flooding into a hole. And the danger doesn't end there. Helicopters are banned from flying over it. The temperature difference between the warm rising air and the cold surface creates vortexes strong enough to pull aircraft from the sky. This isn't just a hole, it's a trap disguised as industry. Now let's step into a land that feels like a bad omen whispered by the wind, the skeleton coast of Namibia. The name alone should make your spine tingle. Portuguese sailors once called it the Gates of Hell. The Sand People named it the land God made in anger. And honestly, they weren't wrong. This region of the Namib Desert is a deadly stretch where fresh water is nearly non-existent. You might be standing next to the ocean, but thirst will kill you long before a wave ever touches your feet. And if the desert heat doesn't finish you off, the wildlife might. Lions, hyenas, jackals, and cheetahs prowl the dunes, waiting for something or someone to stray. Among the endless golden sands, rusting hulls of shipwrecks litter the shore. Over 1,000 vessels have been claimed by this coastline, victims of treacherous currents, hidden rocks, and thick fog. Survivors of these maritime disasters often found themselves washed ashore, only to realize they'd landed in a place with no water, no rescue, and predators lurking in the shadows. Sometimes the sea isn't the enemy, sometimes it's just the beginning. And if lakes seem like a safer alternative to oceans, think again. Some of them are worse. Take Lake Karachay in Russia, a serene-looking body of water with a horrifying secret. It's so toxic that standing near its shores for just an hour is enough to kill you. In the 1950s, Soviet authorities used it as a dumping site for radioactive waste from the Mayak nuclear facility. Over the years, the contamination grew so intense that Lake Karachay was once considered the most polluted place on Earth. Scientists measure radiation in units called sieverts, and 1 sievert is enough to cause serious illness. At Karachay, those levels are off the charts. So the next time you see a beautiful photo of an untouched lake, a quiet desert, or an inviting cave, remember, not everything that looks peaceful is safe. The earth hides its monsters well, and some of them don't growl or roar. They shimmer, they whisper, they wait. During radiation tests in 1990, Lake Karachay released a dose of 5.6 sieverts per hour, enough to kill you in less than 50 minutes. By 2015, authorities had poured concrete over the surface in an attempt to seal in the radioactive horror. Still, the damage had already bled deep into the ground. Scientists estimate that nearly 1 billion gallons of underground water were contaminated after the Soviet Union made the fatal decision to use the lake as a dumping ground for nuclear waste. In the nearby Chelyabinsk region, leukemia rates rose by 41%, along with spikes in multiple forms of cancer. Nature remembers what we bury in it, and sometimes it bites back. But not all deadly lakes glow with radiation. Some simply boil you alive. In Dominica's Morne Trois Pitons National Park lies Boiling Lake, an ominous, steaming pit filled with churning gray water. It's not a hot spring. It's a volcanic vent, heated from below by magma that superheats the water to nearly 92 degrees Celsius, 198 degrees Fahrenheit. A single step into it, and your body would begin cooking like an egg in a frying pan. And then there's Lake Natron in Tanzania, an alien-looking, blood-red pool where life comes to die. The lake is rich in sodium carbonate and has a pH level close to 10.5, almost like ammonia. Anything that dares to enter is scorched by the highly alkaline waters. Birds that land here and die are often calcified by the salty lake bed, their bodies preserved like ancient statues. Even the color of the lake is unnatural, tinged crimson by halophilic microorganisms that thrive in extreme salinity. It's a place that turns death into art, but it's no place for a swim. Of course, if you're the kind of person who'd risk it all for the perfect Instagram photo, there's a place for you too. Welcome to Devil's Pool, a natural basin perched right at the edge of Victoria Falls in Zambia. During the dry season, from August to December, water levels drop just enough to allow brave or reckless swimmers to wade into this natural infinity pool. Just one narrow rock ledge separates you from a 108-meter plunge straight down into the roaring Zambezi River. It's safe, mostly, unless you try to handstand near the edge. And during the rainy season, the current strengthens and the river might drag you over that edge without hesitation. Oh, and did I mention? The river is home to crocodiles and hippos. Still want that photo? And then there's a place so alien, so dangerous, that it feels like a portal to another planet. The Danakil Depression in Ethiopia is a surreal, toxic wasteland of yellow craters, acid pools, and poisonous steam. It sits at the intersection of 3 volatile tectonic plates, constantly shifting and cracking the earth beneath. One wrong step here and you might vanish into a fissure. Sulfur and chlorine gases seep from the ground, tainting the air with the stench of rotting eggs. Beneath the surface, magma heats underground springs, creating pools with dazzling colors, greens, oranges, reds, caused by minerals crystallizing on contact. But don't be fooled by the beauty. Those waters can reach up to 108 degrees Celsius, 226 degrees Fahrenheit. One touch, and your skin would blister instantly. As if that weren't enough, the region is home to 2 active volcanoes. One of them, Erta Ale, contains a lava lake that occasionally spills over, incinerating everything in its path. It's mesmerizing. It's magnificent. It's absolutely lethal. Still think tropical islands are safe? Let's talk about Runit Island in the Marshall Islands. Picture paradise. Soft beaches, swaying palms, blue water. Now add a massive concrete dome sealed over nuclear waste. That dome covers the remnants of 67 nuclear bomb tests conducted by the U.S. military between 1946 and 1958. It's leaking. Decades later, the islands remain uninhabitable. Their ecosystem scarred beyond recognition. Radiation doesn't vanish, it waits, and it never forgets. According to a 2019 study by Columbia University scientists, the coral reefs around Bikini Atoll are 10 times more radioactive than Chernobyl itself. Let that sink in. In 1977, the U.S. military attempted to solve the issue by entombing radioactive waste beneath a 107-meter-wide concrete dome on Runit Island. But that dome? It was never meant to last. And now it's cracking, threatening to leak radiation back into the Pacific and poison the environment once again. And if that sounds distant and abstract, consider this. Bikini's glowing corals are just the tip of a much darker iceberg. Now shift your gaze to Rebirth Island, once hidden in the southern reaches of the Aral Sea, between Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan. It spans 200 square kilometers and was, during the Soviet era, a hub for the testing of top-secret biological weapons, anthrax, smallpox, bubonic plague. When the USSR collapsed in 1991, the site was abandoned in a rush. Equipment, labs, and vials of deadly pathogens were left behind. Over the last decade, time and neglect have taken their toll. Many of the sealed containers are now leaking, and mutated strains of deadly diseases may have seeped into the soil. Rodents are suspected to be new carriers of infections we thought belonged to history books. It turns out that a forgotten island full of virus labs really is as dangerous as it sounds. And then there's Elephant's Foot. If you stood where this photo was taken, you'd be dead in 5 minutes. This isn't a sci-fi prop or alien artifact. It's a mass of molten radioactive material known as corium, formed during the catastrophic meltdown at Chernobyl in 1986. When Reactor 4 exploded, it unleashed a torrent of nuclear fuel and radiation so powerful, it reached Sweden. Over 2,600 square kilometers became a dead zone. Though limited tours are allowed in the exclusion zone today, one place remains strictly off-limits: the chamber housing Elephant's Foot. This black, glassy blob formed from nuclear fuel, steel, and concrete melted together under unimaginable heat. As of 2019, it's housed inside a massive steel sarcophagus, taller than the Statue of Liberty, built over 2 decades. From outside the dome, you're safe. But inside, within 30 seconds of standing next to it, radiation will start shredding your DNA. Within 2 minutes, your organs will begin to shut down. After 5, you're gone. They call it Elephant's Foot, but no foot, human or otherwise, should ever step near it again. Still think water is safer than land? Let's revisit that idea. Everyone's heard of the Bermuda Triangle, that stretch of Atlantic Ocean bounded by Miami, Bermuda, and Puerto Rico. It's where ships vanish, planes disappear, and legends are born. Over 50 vessels and 20 aircraft are said to have gone missing without explanation. Theories range from sea monsters and alien abductions to Atlantean death machines. But while the myths are wild, the truth is more grounded, literally. This region experiences violent weather changes without warning. Rogue waves, white squalls, waterspouts, and hurricanes are common here. Navigating the triangle is like flying blind through chaos. Combine that with the area's heavy maritime traffic, and sudden disappearances seem less like fiction and more like tragic mathematics. For every ship that vanished, thousands passed through unharmed. Still, uncertainty breeds fear, and the Bermuda Triangle is its perfect storm. But if that's not unsettling enough, there's a stream in Yorkshire that's arguably more deadly than the triangle itself. Bolton Strid looks harmless, peaceful, picturesque even. Just a narrow trickle of water flowing through mossy rocks. But don't be fooled. Beneath the surface, it's a death trap. What appears to be a small stream is actually part of the river wharf, a powerful force squeezed from 9 meters wide down to just over 1. That sudden compression creates a violent current that sucks water and anything in it into a network of underground channels and caves. If someone slips and falls in, they're not coming back. The water swallows people whole. Their bodies are never recovered. Locals say no one has ever fallen into Bolton Strid and survived. The quiet beauty of the stream is a mask. What hides beneath is far more dangerous than any supernatural triangle at sea. So the next time you're standing by a calm riverbank or swimming in turquoise waters, look again. Some of the world's most peaceful places are, in truth, silent killers,